We think we know their stories from school, from movies, from museums. But tonight, we're not looking at the history that's written down. We're hunting for the clues left behind in coded diaries, in lost tombs, and in government files that were sealed away from public view. We're going to peel back the layers of lies and legends to find the forbidden mysteries of historical figures. We'll uncover a genius who might have been communicating with the future. A queen whose death was a political cover-up, and a scientist whose inventions were so powerful they were seized by the FBI the moment he died. What you are about to hear might change the way you see history forever. Leonardo da Vinci, the man who knew too much, the painter of secrets. Everyone knows Leonardo da Vinci. We see the Mona Lisa's smile and we think, ah, the artist. We see the Last Supper and we think, a religious painter. But that's what they want you to think. That's the safe, comfortable story. The truth is, painting was one of the least interesting things Leonardo did. He was a master of secrets, a man who lived 100 lives in one. His real work, his real passion, was hidden away in thousands of pages of notebooks, written backwards in a code that he knew almost no one else could read. Why the secrets? Why the codes? Because if the powers of his time, especially the all-powerful church, knew what he was truly up to, he wouldn't have been celebrated as a genius. He would have been burned as a heretic. The notebooks are the real key to who this man was. They are filled with ideas so far ahead of his time, it's almost unbelievable. We're talking about designs for armored tanks, hundreds of years before they were used in World War I. He drew detailed plans for a helicopter, or as he called it, an aerial screw. He designed scuba gear, parachutes, and even a robot knight that could sit up, wave its arms, and move its jaw. How does one man, living in the 1400s, dream up the technology of the 20th century? This is the central problem. Was he just a once-in-a-millennium genius? Or was something else going on? Was he getting this information from somewhere, decoding the mind of a futurist? Let's start with his famous mirror writing. For centuries, people thought he wrote backwards, from right to left, simply because he was left-handed, and it was easier to avoid smudging the ink. It's a nice, simple explanation, but it's probably wrong. Leonardo was ambidextrous. He could write and paint perfectly with both hands. The mirror writing wasn't for convenience. It was for concealment. It was a layer of protection for the dangerous ideas he was putting on paper. And what were those ideas? Let's look at his obsession with war. This supposed man of peace, this painter of serene Madonnas, spent an enormous amount of time designing weapons of incredible cruelty. He designed a giant crossbow that had to be wheeled around by an army of men. He created a chariot with spinning blades on its wheels, designed to slice through the legs of enemy soldiers as it charged His most forbidden work involved something the church considered a mortal sin: the dissection of human bodies. In Leonardo's time, cutting up a corpse to see how it worked was completely illegal and punishable by excommunication or even death. But Leonardo, he secretly got his hands on dozens of bodies from hospitals, from execution grounds, and in the dead of night, by candlelight, he would peel back the skin and study every muscle, every bone, every organ. His anatomical drawings are breathtakingly accurate, more detailed than anything for hundreds of years. He was the first person to accurately draw the human spine, the heart's valves, and a fetus in the womb. This was knowledge nobody else had. He was creating the first true map of the human body, and he was doing it in complete secrecy, risking his life and soul for this forbidden knowledge. This is where you have to wonder about him. This wasn't just curiosity. It was a compulsion. He had to know the secrets hidden in the art. You might think his art was separate from all this secret science and engineering. You'd be wrong. Leonardo used his paintings to hide messages and symbols in plain sight. His most famous work, The Last Supper, is the perfect example. For one, where is the Holy Grail? In every other painting of The Last Supper by any other artist, you see the cup, the chalice that Jesus supposedly drank from. But in Leonardo's version, the most famous version in the world, it's gone. There is no Grail. Why would he leave out the most important object from the story? Some historians believe this was a message. Leonardo was part of secret societies that believed the Grail wasn't a cup at all, but a person. And that brings us to the figure sitting to the right of Jesus. We are told this is John, the beloved apostle, and the person he trusted to carry on his legacy. In Leonardo's time, suggesting that would have been a death sentence. So he hid the secret in the most famous painting in the world. A mystery for those with eyes to see. Even the Mona Lisa is full of strange secrets. Why is she smiling that mysterious smile? Some doctors have suggested she has the facial paralysis of Bell's palsy, or that she was pregnant. But look at the background behind her. On the left side, the landscape is low and calm. On the right side, it's jagged, mountainous, and much higher up. The two sides don't match. It's a surreal, dreamlike world. Leonardo was a master of perspective. He never made mistakes. This was intentional. He was playing with our minds, creating a sense of unease and mystery that has captivated people for 500 years. Some even believe the painting is a clever self-portrait of Leonardo himself in female form, the man who left no trace. The ultimate mystery, though, is Leonardo himself. After a life spent documenting everything he saw, everything he thought, everything he invented, his personal life is almost a complete blank. We know almost nothing about his beliefs, his loves, his fears, he never married. He had no known children. He was accused of sodomy as a young man, a very serious crime. But the charges were mysteriously dropped, likely due to a powerful family protecting him. He lived a life surrounded by people, but was ultimately alone with his secrets. This is perhaps his greatest forbidden mystery. A man who understood the universe better than anyone alive at the time, but who remains a complete ghost. He gave us the future. He gave us art that touches the soul, but he never truly gave us himself. The climax of his life's secret work wasn't a painting or an invention. It was the moment he held a human heart in his hands, one he had illegally taken from a corpse, and understood how its valves worked, something no one would rediscover for centuries. In that dark, hidden room, he committed a crime against God and the state, not for money or for power, but for pure, simple, forbidden knowledge. Leonardo da Vinci's legacy is not the Mona Lisa. It is the thousands of pages of secrets he left behind. A message in a bottle from a man who knew too much, who had seen the future, and who was trying to warn us, or perhaps prepare us. Cleopatra, the queen they tried to erase. Beyond the Hollywood myth, forget everything you've seen in the movies. Forget the image of a beautiful queen lounging on a barge, seducing powerful Roman men. That image is a lie, a piece of powerful propaganda created by her enemies to destroy her reputation. The real Cleopatra of the 7th was one of the most brilliant and dangerous rulers of the ancient world. And her greatest mystery isn't how she lived, but how she died and where she is buried. The woman we think of as Cleopatra was not just a pretty face. She was a political genius. She spoke at least 9 languages, including Egyptian, which was rare for her Greek dynasty. She was a mathematician, a chemist, and a naval commander. She controlled the entire wealth of Egypt, the breadbasket of the Roman world. She wasn't a victim of history. She was a player, and she played the game better than almost anyone. Her lovers, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, were not just romantic conquests. They were strategic alliances. She wasn't sleeping with them for love. She was using them to secure her throne and the future of her kingdom. So why do we remember her as just a seductress? Because her final enemy, Octavian, the man who would become Emperor Augustus, won the war. And when you win, you get to write the history. Octavian's propaganda machine worked overtime to erase the image of Cleopatra, the brilliant ruler, and replace it with Cleopatra, the decadent, foreign temptress who corrupted good Roman men. The story of her death is the final and most successful piece of that character assassination. The problem with the poisonous snake. The official story, the one everyone knows, is that after Octavian defeated her and Mark Antony, Cleopatra committed suicide in her tomb. She had an asp, a type of venomous snake, smuggled to her in a basket of figs, and she died from its bite. It's a dramatic, romantic, and tragic end. it's also probably completely fake. Let's look at the facts. First, an asp, which is likely an Egyptian cobra, is a large snake. It can be several feet long. It's not something you can easily hide in a small basket of figs. Second, death by cobra venom is gruesome and slow. It involves convulsions, vomiting, and paralysis. It is not the peaceful, dignified death that the Roman storytellers describe. As a queen who managed her public image with incredible skill, would she really choose such a horrible and unpredictable way to die? There are other, much faster and more reliable poisons she had access to. We know from ancient texts that she experimented with poisons, testing them on prisoners to see their effects. She was a chemist. She knew what she was doing. A simple dose of hemlock or belladonna would have been a much cleaner, quicker, and more certain end. So why the snake story? Because it was full of symbolism for the Romans. The snake was a symbol of Egypt, a symbol of her foreign and treacherous nature. By having her die by the bite of an Egyptian snake, Octavian's storytellers painted her as a victim of her own corrupt and alien world. It was the perfect ending to their fake news campaign. The search for the lost tomb. So if she didn't die by a snake bite, what happened? The most likely alternative is far darker. Motor. Octavian wanted Cleopatra alive. His greatest prize would have been to parade her through the streets of Rome in chains during his victory celebration, a triumph. It would have cemented his power and shown the world the fate of Rome's enemies. The historical records say that he sent his soldiers to her mausoleum with specific orders to capture her alive. The story goes that when they broke in, they found her already dead. But what if they didn't? What if they captured her? And Octavian realized that keeping her alive was too risky. She was too popular with her own people, and even had a son with Julius Caesar, Caesarion, who had a legitimate claim to rule Rome. A living Cleopatra was a threat. A dead Cleopatra with a romantic suicide story was a legend he could control. It's very possible that in those final moments, Octavian's men either killed her or allowed her to drink poison, then invented the snake story to cover their tracks. This brings us to the greatest mystery of all. Where is she? The tomb of Cleopatra and her lover, Mark Antony, is the holy grail of modern archaeology. For 2,000 years, it has been lost. We know it was somewhere near Alexandria, the ancient capital of Egypt, but the city has been rocked by earthquakes and tsunamis over the centuries. Much of the ancient city is now underwater. For years, archaeologists have been searching. The most promising lead right now is a site called Taposiris Magna, about 30 miles outside Alexandria. Archaeologist Kathleen Martinez is convinced this is the spot. She has found a temple dedicated to the goddess Isis, a goddess Cleopatra claimed to be the reincarnation of. They have found tunnels, hidden tombs, and coins with Cleopatra's face on them. They found a burial shaft that is very similar to the tombs of other Macedonian rulers of the time. They are getting closer and closer. A truth worth finding. Finding the tomb would be the biggest archaeological discovery since King Tut's. The treasure inside would be unimaginable. But the real treasure wouldn't be the gold or the jewels. The real treasure would be her body. If they can find her mummy, scientists could reconstruct her face, and we could finally see what this legendary queen actually looked like. Was she the Elizabeth Taylor beauty from the movies? Or was she what the coins suggest? A woman with a prominent nose and a determined chin, whose power came from her brain, not her body. More importantly, forensic analysis could potentially tell us how she really died. We could find traces of poison, or even evidence of violence. The climax of this story is not in the past. It's in the future. It's the moment a spade hits a hidden chamber, and a light is shown into the darkness of Cleopatra's final resting place. That moment could rewrite history. It could finally destroy the 2,000-year-old lie created by Octavian and restore Cleopatra's true identity, not as a romantic victim, but as a brilliant ruler who fought one of the most powerful empires in history to a standstill, and who was so dangerous that her enemies had to kill her, and then kill her story. The search for her tomb is a search for the truth, a truth that a powerful man tried very, very hard to bury forever. Nikola Tesla, the genius who was erased, the man who invented the modern world. When you flip a light switch, use your phone, or listen to the radio, you are using the technology of a man whose name most people barely know, Nikola Tesla. We are taught that Thomas Edison was the great inventor, the man who gave us light. But that's another convenient story. Edison was a brilliant businessman. What Tesla was a magician. He was a man who saw the future. A man whose ideas were so revolutionary and so dangerous that the powers that be, corporations and governments, worked to suppress him, steal his work, and ultimately erase him from history. Tesla's story is a battle between two different visions of the future. On one side was Thomas Edison. Edison championed direct current, or DC. It was simple, but it was inefficient. It couldn't travel long distances, so you would need a power plant on almost every city block. It was easy to put a meter on and charge people for every little bit of electricity they used. It was a business model. On the other side was Tesla and his idea of alternating current, or AC. AC was elegant, powerful, and could be sent hundreds of miles with very little power loss. It was the system that could electrify the entire world easily and cheaply. It was the system we use today. But Edison knew that Tesla's AC was a huge threat to his DC empire. So, Edison launched a vicious smear campaign to scare people away from AC. He publicly electrocuted stray dogs, cats, and even an elephant with AC electricity to prove how dangerous it was. It was a brutal fight for the future. But in the end, Tesla's superior technology won. He, not Edison, is the true father of our modern electrical grid. But this victory came at a huge cost. It made him powerful enemies, people who saw that his true genius wasn't just about making better technology, but about creating a world where the fundamental resources, like energy, could be free. And that was a terrifying idea for the richest men in the world. The dream of free energy. This is where Tesla's story goes from a story of invention to a forbidden mystery. Tesla wasn't satisfied with just creating the electrical grid. He had a much bigger, more radical dream. He believed he could tap into the natural energy of the Earth itself and broadcast it through the air like radio waves. No wires, no power plants as we know them. Just a tower that would send limitless, free energy to anyone, anywhere in the world who had a simple receiver. Imagine a world like that. No more electricity bills. No more reliance on oil, gas, or coal. Every home, every car, every factory could have all the power it needed for free. It would have changed human civilization overnight. It would have destroyed the fortunes of the most powerful industrialists on the planet. And he wasn't just dreaming. He began to build it. With funding from the powerful banker J.P. Morgan, Tesla built a massive transmission tower in Shoreham, Long Island, called Wardenclyffe Tower. It was a strange, 187-foot-tall, mushroom-shaped structure under which he built a deep, complex system of iron pipes reaching into the earth. Tesla was convinced this tower would be his masterpiece. But then, suddenly, the funding was cut. J.P. Morgan pulled out of the project. The official story is that Morgan lost faith in the project when the first transatlantic radio message was sent by his rival, Marconi, and he believed he had backed the wrong horse. But the real reason is likely much simpler and much more cynical. The story goes that Morgan asked Tesla, "If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter?" Tesla, the idealist, had no answer. He wanted to give energy away for free. Morgan, the businessman, saw no way to profit from it. And so, the project was killed. Wardenclyffe Tower was torn down and sold for scrap. Tesla was financially ruined, and his dream of free energy for the world died with it. Or did it? The death ray and the FBI. Tesla's mind never stopped working. Even after the failure of Wardenclyffe, he continued to invent, filing patents and working on new, even more radical ideas. As World War II loomed, he announced his most terrifying and controversial invention, a particle beam weapon he called Teleforce, but which the press immediately nicknamed the Death Ray. He claimed this weapon could shoot a concentrated beam of energy through the air, capable of destroying 10,000 airplanes or an entire army from 250 miles away. He didn't see it as a weapon of war, but as a weapon to end all war. He believed that if every country had this ultimate defensive weapon, it would create a shield around their borders that no army could penetrate, making war impossible. He tried to offer his invention to the US government and to other allied nations, but he was largely ignored, dismissed as a brilliant but old and crazy man. But others were listening. Nazi Germany showed a keen interest in Tesla's work. Soviet spies were also trying to get their hands on his plans. Tesla's ideas were now a matter of national security. On January 7th, 1943, Nikola Tesla died. Broke and alone, in his room at the New Yorker Hotel. What happened next is the climax of his story and the heart of his forbidden mystery. The moment he was pronounced dead, agents from the FBI rushed to the hotel. They sealed his room, and acting under the orders of the alien property custodian, they seized all of his belongings. 2 truckloads of plans, notebooks, and models were taken away to a secure government storage facility. For years, the government denied that they had taken anything of importance. The official FBI report, released much later, concluded that Tesla's research was largely speculative and philosophical, and contained no new, sound, workable principles. But many researchers believe this is a lie, a cover-up. They believe that hidden within those thousands of documents were the real secrets to the death ray, to wireless energy, and perhaps to technologies we still can't even imagine. The missing papers. So what happened to Tesla's papers? Some were eventually released to his family and are now in the Tesla Museum in Belgrade. But many of his most important documents, especially those from the trunk that he said contained the complete plans for the death ray, are still missing. The US government classify his work and use it to develop their own secret weapons programs. Some people point to projects like the mysterious HARP facility in Alaska, which studies the atmosphere with powerful energy beams, as a potential descendant of Tesla's work. The story of Nikola Tesla is a tragedy. He was a man who gave the world so much, but the world, driven by greed and fear, took everything from him. He was a true visionary who wanted to create a better future for humanity, a future of peace and abundance. But his ideas were too revolutionary, too disruptive to the existing systems of power and profit. The forbidding mystery of Nikola Tesla is not just about what his inventions could do. It's about why they were suppressed. His files were seized, and his name was systematically removed from history books, replaced by the safer, more corporate-friendly story of Thomas Edison. They didn't just let his dream of free energy die. They actively killed it and buried the body. Somewhere, perhaps in a locked vault, deep within a government building, the secrets of Nikola Tesla are still waiting. Secrets of a technology that could change our world, a future that was stolen from us. Now, watch the next video on our screen to uncover the terrifying secrets of Jack the Ripper.